Hey everyone, welcome back to AFTV and welcome to the final of this final. I'm acting like it's the Wimbledon final or something. Our last show, reviewing All or Nothing, episodes 7 and 8. I thought there was going to be a ninth, but maybe there wasn't too much good stuff to chuck in that night, so they just thought we'll shorten it to episodes 7 and 8. And I think it's fair to say, well, I actually haven't spoken to any of you at all, which is not normally we share a few messages on the WhatsApp group or whatever, but I have no idea how you guys have taken this. I didn't really enjoy these last two episodes, if I'm honest. I don't really think I got a lot out of it. And we're going to break down why, but maybe there's a different feeling from you guys, Robbie?
You just, you don't really enjoy it because of the way it ends up, innit? Like, basically, it just brought back memories of how the season ended up, which was in a lot of disappointment. I think it was, again, who comes out of it well, in my opinion, is Arteta again, because you just see that how disappointed he was, how angry he was at the performances, and like the real roasting he gave him at Newcastle was exactly how I felt on that day when I was stood up in the stands watching that game. But it didn't work, was the thing. And the other thing as well, when I was watching it, it just made me realise, right, that were we ever going to get there with that team? It was just like so young and inexperienced. They'd had injuries to key players. And then I just looked around and he looks like he's done there's no more talking you can do than what he did. And they still couldn't deliver. So I kind of look at what's gone on since with the sort of players he's brought in and that. And I'm thinking to myself is that when he went away after the end of the season, he said to himself, you know what, this team will just it will not get nowhere near that. I need to bring in some real quality. Because, he did all the talks, he did all the shouting and cussing, and they still were so flat. That was the thing that really struck me. Like, even after the first game at Palace, he ripped them. And then they went and lost to Brighton. He said, you're in front of your own fans today, come out. They were still poor, So that's what I kind of got out of it is he personally, and the other thing that came out of it for me as well, Granit Xhaka, leader in that dressing room, can see it clearly. He's the only one sometimes when they're coming back in, he's having a go at players, man. I think there's one time when he was saying, we're playing like a championship team, he was saying out there and that, But apart from that, it was just the bad memories coming back, man.
Yeah, and I think it would have been difficult for Amazon and All or Nothing to dress this up in any positive way. In fact, I'm surprised that there wasn't even an ending bit where they kind of went, yep. But we've got this young team and we brought these new signings in and I don't know, just a little something at the end to say...
Yeah, it just ended sudden, didn't it?
It kind of was just a bit of an abrupt ending, they didn't make it. Did that surprise you?
No, that's what annoyed me. I didn't enjoy the last episode. I think they set the bar quite high with the previous three. I think it went to another level, this All or Nothing doc, and then you saw this and it was like you said there, at the end it was just like, he said, you go on holiday, you deserve it, take your time. I was thinking, what? And then that was it. And he was like, and he just didn't talk about how he felt. It'd be nice to get Arteta's actual feelings of what could have improved, what hurt him the most and whatnot. None of that. It was abruptly done. I saw some bits as well. Even I think Vin and I mentioned about it being a successful season, considering it's not what we expected. That really pissed me off. I'm going to be honest. That annoyed me. Didn't enjoy that. These last two episodes, they really let it down. And they could have done more of an arc. Even on the Eddie thing, which I remember we spoke about, you said they're probably going to do that arc. Yes, they did touch on it, but they probably could have went a bit more in it, in my opinion. But
thank God they didn't.
I just think that there could have been a lot more they could have got from these last two. But I really wasn't impressed with the last two episodes. But listen, it wasn't going to be a happy ending because we know what the outcome would have been. But they could have done a lot more.
Turkish?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Rob.
Mike.
There we go. I'm kind of with Rob, I just feel like we know how the season ended, so we knew what the last two episodes were loosely going to be about. But it seemed like Arteta ran out of ideas, the injuries took his toll, and there was just no coming back from it. Like Rob said, the Palace game, the Brighton game, the Tottenham game, then the Newcastle game, nothing was working. He tried to give his, analogies, light bulb and all this. He tried to flip. He tried to be calm. He tried to, motivate them by saying the fans are here. None of that worked at the end. The injuries were just too much for us to get round.
With them injuries, we just weren't good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you just. Yeah, there's nothing more you could have asked of him. What I saw him doing there, you know what I mean? What else?
Yeah.
Well, it struck me as the whole thing just running out of oxygen in terms of the players. By this point, we had such a bare squad. Remember, Lacazette wasn't even involved at that point because of Nketiah's form, and Laka maybe had an injury and then just didn't get back in, did he? We then see obviously Tierney and Partey's injuries, playing a part, and all the players we lost in January. So you had this bare squad, and you looked at Arteta, who I agree with you. I think the message was a bit exhausted, and I actually, I stayed up till 4 watching it, and the 3 episodes before, I was up till 4, but I was just enjoying it. And not all of it was positive, but there was insight, there was info, there was something fresh. I was getting something new with all of it. This kind of went from match to match to match to match. And I felt, I'm with you, listen, we only get snippets, but it looked to me like Arteta ran out of ideas a little bit. And the whole thing just felt a bit flat. And actually, it captured that more than that Newcastle performance, where we looked like we just had nothing left to give.
There was signs of it though, because the inside looked like it was deteriorating from the fight with Cedric and Lacazette. You saw that. You saw.
I definitely want to touch on that,
which we will talk about, and obviously things like Mikel Arteta highlighting Nuno Tavares, Pepe as well, telling him to smile and stuff. Like you could see there was links that were being broken, and that does lead to a bad end to a season. You could see it from what I.
Is that how you took it?
Yeah,
I took it as just tiredness and
no,
mental fatigue.
I think all these things they factor in when it comes to you want to get the best out of a club, a champion winning side. You can see there's a different mentality. They're focused all the way to the end. There's not really much breaks. There's just elite mentality. I could see from what we saw from when the winning streak was going on last season to the end of this doc, you could see those little things faltering, and that's what might well have led to what we have at the end of the season. But no, this season.
I think Robbie mentioned the leadership of Xhaka, and I'm not going to dwell on Xhaka himself, but I just feel like there was too many quiet moments after these losses and after these poor performances, and that's where I need to see a leader come in.
He was the only one.
I get you. He was in terms of being vocal at times, but again, it's the right message, wrong person to deliver it, and even he picked like. There was moments where we needed someone to stand up in that dressing room. Before Arteta even walks in, they're all quiet, they're all head down. Like, where is that, real leader?
I reckon there probably is. Those are the bits that have been cut, that have hit the floor, what they call the director's floor, because there must have been, that dressing room was not that quiet, right? In my view, there would have been people digging each other out and stuff like that, but they probably, they probably cut those bits.
I'm not sure. I'm with Turkish. I think they're a very young group. A lot of them weren't.
Yeah,
your Ben Whites and Ramsdales weren't used to that kind of expectation, and they fell short. And some of it was because of injuries and all that. I am a believer that we get one more win if Partey and Tierney are fit. A minimum, we get one more win, I think. Because what did we lose? Like 5 games of the last 10, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that played a part, and I think actually. They were young, and when the Newcastle game happened, I think they just thought, well, that's it now. Like, that is it. There's nothing...
Well, it was it.
But, like, as in, like, almost you're like, what's the point shouting? Like, what's the point? Like, I know we want to see it, but when you've gone through that kind of gruelling season, and there's someone like Saka who's, from being Arsenal's best player the season before, to then the Euros, to then, being dependent on so much, he's probably just like, okay, like...
that's like you were just saying there, that's when you rely on that's what happened to us in this season. Basically, that's what I said. There's nothing more we could do, right? We're relying on youngsters, relying on kids. There's not enough leaders. The only leader I saw, like I said, saying anything was Xhaka. Even if when I turn around and I look at that picture, when you look at it, just kids, Martinelli, Sambi Lokonga, Cedric's not a vocal guy, Emile Smith-Rowe, Odegaard, these are all kids. Nuno Tavares, They just did not have those extra... like maybe this season, maybe you might be able to have a Zinchenko there and a Jesus who they've won things, they've done things that can maybe say, right, but
100%,
they just did not have that.
They need to bring that in. From what I've seen missing in that dressing room, Jesus and Zinchenko need to come in and say, this is our first few months, but we are the most experienced in terms of winning stuff, so let's lead this
Look at straight away, he's this new leadership group, it's Odegaard's the captain, Xhaka and Jesus, which is the new... group. I didn't hear Rob Holding saying anything. He got sent off, didn't he? So it was just like, I don't know. I just looked at a team, just as like they're not. The team's not good enough to get top 4. 5th was where they should have been at, and he tried what he tried. and the team just lacked quality, especially with those guys missing.
Yeah, injuries played a
know?
big part.
There are a couple other moments on the Arteta front. I understand that they didn't ever really indulge in the tactics side of things across all 8 episodes, but Xhaka playing a left back in the Brighton game was a massive talking point around that game. And where I was pretty forgiving with the kind of way they wanted to portray Arteta in the other episodes, which was, by the way, in very good light, and I think I'm with you, he's come across very well, even in these moments where things haven't gone well. His team talks and all that, I think, are things that we've kind of taken some goodness from, I suppose. But him playing Xhaka left back in that game was a massive, massive moment, and you never really see that moment of self-reflection, or maybe that moment of, something that kind of acknowledges that was a part of the script then. And it was a big, but maybe I'm overthinking it because everyone knows I love it.
You were spot on.
Yeah.
What I told you a lot with the even previous episodes.
Yeah.
Where you guys, well, not all of you, some of you saying, I've learnt so much. You learnt what they showed you, right? To me, that was huge talking point.
Yeah.
Just like the fact that, and I'm not saying he's wrong in his decision to get rid of Aubameyang, or we're seeing United at the moment with the problems they're having with Ronaldo. But that's a mistake as well in not replacing him. We did not replace the goals, right? So it's things like that. We needed a midfielder in January. Remember, I said to you guys in that last episode, they just didn't totally nothing about that, right? Partey's out.
Crumbled.
Yeah. So I just, if you're looking for an in-depth thing, let's just face it, on any of these all or nothing documentaries, you're not going to get that fully, because, before that documentary comes out, the club's going to look on it as well to make sure there's not going to be certain things in there that really makes them look bad. Because that was a massive moment. And there was other massive moments throughout the season that really were turning points that were not really shown, So,
but there was still a good insight in there. I know what you're saying.
But it's a good insight. The insight for me is we get to see behind the scenes. We've really got to see a lot of Arteta. We've really got to see a lot of the players. And I feel that, in looking at the players, I can see these players care.
Yeah.
Right? They care about it. A lot of times players get accused of, you're on 150 grand a week, you don't give a toss, blah, blah. No, these players, these Arsenal players that I saw throughout that documentary, all of them, right, they cared. When they lost games, you could see the pain, right? Those last couple of games, they didn't need to say nothing. I could see the pain on all of their faces. It really hurt them. That was, so I saw that. So I think in that way it's been really good to show the fans, and I feel that's why it's actually not been a terrible thing, this documentary. It's been quite a good thing for Arsenal. I agree. Because the fans have seen that, and it's kind of brought us a bit closer in that aspect. But factual things happening throughout this, we ain't learned a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah, because pick and choose. Because if you look at the first 3 episodes, they talked about Tavares. They emphasised how Arteta wanted to build a communication line with him and what he's going to use. But by the end of it, when we talk about Xhaka being played left back, that was ahead of Tavares. There was no mention of it. Why? Because that was a bad point. That was a negative. So they were very much pushing the positives throughout the season.
Yeah, but we learned a lot of the good side from that, of what we want to see.
We finished 5th.
I hear that. We've got to see what they showed us.
Good side if we finish 5th, though. That's how I see it. I'm sorry, it failed. You can be good for 37 games. In the 38th, if you lose that game and then you don't reach your target or your goal, it's a failure.
Doesn't mean that the foundations that were put in place over that year, are now redundant.
Yeah.
No.
And what
you can build. We can look back at last season and say that's the season where it really started changing around.
Yeah.
Well, they said in it, didn't they? They said that it was almost. What they were saying is that they didn't expect to be where they were this season, that they were expecting this to be next season sort of thing. But you are there. You are there ahead of schedule. And a lot of that, and I remember I said this, right? I remember we did that overlap thing, right, with Gary Neville. Everyone was lauding up Antonio Conte, right? And I said, listen, he was faltering. If you remember, they were showing the table. It was reminding me. They were like 5-6 points ahead of us, then they faltered, then we went ahead of them, then we faltered, then they went back ahead, and we faltered again. So, nobody was really grabbing it. You know what I mean? If we would have really had a good team, a good squad, we would have grabbed that. We would have got top 4. We probably weren't ready for it yet.
Let's have a discussion around standards at the club. That's something that's always brought up, kind of on the pitch, off the pitch, whatever. We talk about the expectations. Now, Arteta, there are a few quotes. I'll take this one, for example. After losing 2 games to Palace and Brighton, at this club it has to be a funeral. He said that in the, I believe it was the briefing, with the players in that room, where they have all the meetings and they've got the projector up. That was an interesting one. He reiterated the standards of the club going into episode 8, as well as we were going to that big run against West Ham and everyone. I just wonder, did that change anything for you guys in terms of your understanding of what the ambitions are for at least certain individuals in that club, aka Arteta or maybe others?
I've never doubted Arteta's ambition. I'm sure he wants to, be the next big thing. I'm sure he wants to bring us back, to challenging at the very least, because you ain't got a divine right to win the league, but to challenging at the very least. My questions have always come from above, and whether you're just falling in line with the above. Now, you talk about standards, and I might as well bring this quote in from Vinay now. Cecil touched on it. At the end, he said, to be here now, I think about finishing 8th in the Premier League 2 years in a row and to take a step forward and qualify. What's to be here now? We finished 5th. You can dwell on 8th and 8th all you want, but 5th is not much greater than 8th. Yes, it gets us into Europa League, but this is Arsenal Football Club. And he said, I think it's been a really successful season, like Cecil said. And that's where my doubt about standards comes in. It's not on Arteta. I'm sure he wants to be successful. It's not on Edu. I'm sure he wants to be successful. I doubt Vinay, and I doubt the Kroenkes. That's where my problems with standards have come.
But I would argue that, and I really am just playing devil's advocate for the sake of it, because I listened to that and I thought, oh, really, Vinay? But for the club to be successful, first and foremost on the pitch, and there's a financial side that needs to be successful, and there's a marketing side, there's all these things, there's an academy. So from Vinay's perspective, the angle that he might be focused on, Arteta and Edu are worrying about recruitment and on the pitch and results. Vinay might be, cool, I'm seeing progress, brilliant. He's probably also looking at the actual business side. He's probably looking at these academy players that have come through Hale End and have succeeded to some degree in the Premier League already, at least in terms of becoming assets as well. So maybe just from his perspective, he's got a different angle on it, which maybe isn't a bad thing. Maybe it's not a bad thing to have different people who are looking at it from a different perspective while the others are driving the other side.
Then I'll argue that instead of mentioning 8th and 8th, why don't you mention that we had no assets when Arteta first came in?
Fair point.
That is an arc that he can use as a positive.
Yeah. I think you using the word successful season was ridiculous.
That was outrageous.
It was not a successful season. I'd say if he would have termed it and said, listen, when I think of the fact that we've finished 8th and 8th the past few seasons, we've moved a step forward, right? If he would have said it that way, we've moved a step forward, right? It's been a turbulent season, which I think is, if you look back at that season, it was a turbulent season. Like, we had highs and we had lows, big highs and big lows and lots of real problems to sort out with Aubameyang and various players. Because remember, it wasn't just Aubameyang, Kolasinac moved on and things like that. So it was a turbulent season. That was a very difficult season to negotiate, and we just fell short, remember, at the end. So this is a step forward's been taken, but don't describe it as a success because we didn't win a trophy either. I mean, even if it was like a thing like we say we won the FA Cup or even the League Cup, and we said, right, we finished 8th and 8th this season. We've won the League Cup and we've got a 5th place, and we nearly. So it's been a massive step forward. But the word success doesn't come when you see a prize there. All right, you may not have fought. And I don't think nobody at the start of the season fought. And even when you assess the teams that have been put together at the start of the season, probably, and maybe this is where he's coming from, probably they looked on it and said a successful season, based on what if every other team's done, will be a European place. And that was achieved, right? But once you're in there and from January to May, you've got a chance of getting that top 4 excellent chance. Then it's a failure that we didn't get it.
That Vinay thing was that, like I said at the top of the show, it annoyed me. And it's just you forget about things. I got blinded by obviously the production and whatnot. You forget we weren't in Europe. We weren't in cup competitions. We bailed out of the FA Cup, bailed out of the League Cup. It wasn't a successful season. We had no European games. Like the only focus was the title spot, the position of getting 4th. So That one, I can't lie, it very much did annoy me. I wasn't happy when he said that, especially for someone you've seen. He's around the club. He's around the likes of Edu. He's around Mikel Arteta. They have their meetings. He's there, so he knows what their standards are, and he should, in my opinion, should be aligned with that. We've seen Edu come out recently and do a lot of press. Same with Mikel.
Yeah.
What about their standards should be top 4? Okay, yeah, great, but we want to be challenging. We want to be winning things. But no,
I do get you guys. I do, but at the same time, I don't take too much from Vinay in any way. I know he's the CEO, but it's the Edus and the Artetas that I need to speak well on these subjects and give me the right things. With Vinay, yeah, I disagree with the way he worded it, but also I'm not that bothered. I'm kind of just, you keep things ticking and make sure that the people below who are having a real impact have what they need. That's kind of all I need from him. But I guess maybe if his standards are different, I don't know. On Arteta, his halftime team talk at West Ham was something I wanted to talk about. We talked about his team talks maybe starting to go a little bit stale, or maybe he was running out of ways to sort of bring the message across. At least that's how I felt, the way they'd edited it. He really went on Tavares at halftime against West Ham. And there are a few moments in this series that really puzzled me, when there was a sense of disappointment, almost like, I don't know if they were trying to paint, obviously Arteta's not acting, right, he's doing what he really feels, but whether they were trying to set this tone of, oh, Arsenal were facing adversity and overcame it. Because in that West Ham game, they did it with the Brentford game, we won 2-1 as well earlier in the season. That first half against West Ham, yeah, we conceded late on, but we were pretty decent that first half.
We weren't that bad.
We were all right. You know,
I agree.
And he's going absolutely nuts on it.
I don't know, man.
Really?
I don't think it was
remember that
bad
game, and we were a little bit fortunate too, right? We're a little bit fortunate. 1-1 was an accurate score at the half, right? Because even though we scored in that game, I remember, there was moments, there's few moments, and then we conceded right at the end. It's 1-1. And I think what he was saying is, you know, come on, man. And remember, he said they're physically dead. Come on, get out. Because remember, they just played the Europa League game before that as well. So he's saying, listen, they're physically dead out there. Come on, get out there and really impose yourself. Get in. And in how many games did you hear him saying, let's get off to a really fast start,
play forward.
And they didn't. And that was, you know, so...
Was that the game that he said Liverpool come here and Thingy come here late?
That was at the end, yeah.
Yeah, so like... I mean,
he said that at the end, didn't he? He said that at the end.
And
his team talk was good because he got stuck into him, and then the second half they played much better. And then when he came back in, you know, won the game, and he came back at the end now, he actually went up to Tavares and gripped him up and said, yes. And sometimes, you know, that's the other thing we have to remember, right? That when it comes to players... They always say, innit, there's some players you've got to put your arm around, there's other players you've got to rip. You've got to rip. I remember the other day, this is obviously, it's not on the same level, right? But I remember the other day, right, our AFTV team was playing, and there was this kid playing, I'm not going to say his name, and at half time, Scully
of course he did.
Ripped him, and he goes, I'm giving you 5 more minutes. He goes, I'm giving you 5 more minutes, right? And he goes, if you don't improve, man, you're coming off. And he ripped him. And then they went back on, right, and started playing. I said to him, I go, yeah, you went a bit over the top with him, didn't you? I go, boy, they've all been poor. And he goes, nah, but he goes, with him. He goes, that's what you have to do. You have to think. And then they got a free kick like 15 minutes later. He curled in this brilliant goal, and we ended up winning the game. And then at the end, it sort of reminded me of that Tavares thing, was at the end, Scully was hugging him up and all that and saying, see, I told you. He goes, that's why I have to do that to you, just to get that fire out of you. So maybe it's like that a bit with Tavares, that you got to fire him up, a kind of thing.
Well, he had a great second half in that game. I actually remember him looking...
They're the last towards the end of the season, it's the last rolls of the dice. Half-time team talks become very much like full-time team talks because the next 45 minutes are as important as the next 90 minutes coming up and the 90 after that. So it was crunch time then. And remember at the end after Newcastle, he said it's too late to talk now.
Yeah, I like
that. So he was doing his talking when it was time to do the talking.
I liked his thing at the end. He cussed them off. And then he said, right, and all you just shut up and you're going to hold it. And then he goes to do it, goes, I'm going to go out there and defend you guys as usual. But he'd already ripped them and told him that, simply not good enough, rubbish.
The
interesting thing about it is, right, is sort of things that us as fans might be saying after a game. We might be saying, that's simply not good enough. And then you'll have people like, don't criticise, you know what I mean? The manager saying to those guys, you know what I mean?
It's not good enough.
shut up. He's basically saying to him, don't give me no excuses. Don't tell me nothing. That was terrible. And you know what? You lot have to hold that now because it's too late.
I wanted to see.
He said something like, he goes, maybe, he goes, sometimes, he goes, you never know football. Norwich might lose, but, you know, basically, you lot have blown it, man. Yeah. But I'm going to go out there and defend you anyway. But you lot have blown it.
Yeah.
He was right.
A couple more bits from episode 7 just to touch on. Tierney's injury. Was it just me who was a little like... And by the way, we are going to get into the Tottenham Newcastle stuff in the episode 8 section, but is it Gary O'Driscoll, the chief medical staff? When he said that he had this hyperextension and then didn't report it, like, I can't... Who am I to tell Kieran Tierney what to do with his body and how to look after himself? But it just felt like, oh, really? Like, with a player who's got injury problems, you tell them everything. But am I being harsh?
I think, maybe
being harsh.
Because I know what you guys
That's
think.
the mentality.
It's because, he wants...
He's a 90s player.
He's going to want to play.
And in the 90s, you get kicked left, right and centre. You better stay on that pitch and start the next game. No moaning, there's no downtime.
If he'd made it through the whole season and then later in the All or Nothing we find out he had this injury, played through it, we'd all be like, yes, love it.
For us as fans, it's a
No,
shame,
basically, I agree with
player.
Turkish, right? Because basically, is what that guy was describing in medical terms is what we call a niggle. He had a niggle. It's not something that would stop you, a hyperextension or something that would stop you from playing. It's just that you're not fully comfortable in your playing, but he was still playing. He said, hey, bloody got an injury now by slipping coming out of the shower. That's how he got and done his knee. That's how he sent him out for the rest of the season. So
no, it's
not even on the pitch.
It's
the
undoubtedly
shower.
Unlucky. But there was stuff in the media, wasn't there?
Well, they ain't got the sliders.
That might have been it though. Sliders in the shower. It's slippery, boy.
But being someone that's had knee injuries, knees can go at any time. I had a knee up in 2019 March. I've played football since then, and in December I was getting out of bed and my knee popped again. So all of that football I played in between, I haven't played football since December because just coming out of bed, my knee's gone again.
Yeah.
So knees are very sensitive.
No, fair enough. I heard it and I was like, you start thinking of all the what ifs, but
the hyperextension would have probably led to weakening the knee for it to go. So, but he's not a player that's gonna.
As I said, he knows his body.
And how did they know that though? If it wasn't reported, how did they know he had a hyperextension after that game, and then he played the next 5 games if it wasn't reported?
I think they said they asked him, innit?
So he self-diagnosed himself after that game, and they've taken.
They might have assessed him though, because when they did the Mohamed El Neni assessment of it, that was proper. Like did the whole scan, so that might have been. They might have had that, and he might have just.
I remember the important games, right? And if someone's got a niggle and these are important games,
they're just playing.
You've got to play, man.
Back in the day, boy, you used to get the steroid injection. They just go and just carry on playing.
This is it's completely off topic, but just on the topic of slipping in the shower, this is absolutely a true story. The other day, I'm talking 2 days ago, I ordered, those little mats you put on the shower so they stick so you don't slip? 1 year of living in this apartment, I've not once ever slipped. I thought, you know what, good practice. I put it down, I slip on it. Because it hadn't stuck properly, so it just went.
And you're getting onto Kieran Tierney.
That I hyperextended my neck. No, but anyway, so there you go.
Thanks for that.
Just thought, I know how you feel, Kieran. I've been there. I get it. Trust me. A couple other players we've got some time with in episode 7 were Elneny and Holding. Now, was it just me who just found it quite interesting? Look, I like Rob Holding. He's clearly a really nice guy. But his kind of was, I'm happy to help. Sort of, I'm just, whatever part I need to play, I'll do it. Which, by the way, is in many ways a great attitude to have. It makes you a team player and all that. But then I also really like the contrast. And Elneny was like, I'm angry if I'm not playing, and I showed that in training. I did have a little laugh. I've got to be honest. I just thought this is sort of like. The difference is quite interesting. I've got to come to you on this.
Of course you do. I knew you were going to come to me.
I've got to.
It goes back to the standards thing again. And then he's not, he's not anyone's favourite to start the game. But that mentality is the mentality to have. You should be upset you're not playing. You should want to play more. Look at Sambi and Eddie's exchange at one moment. I forgot that's episode 7.
Yeah.
Rob Holding, for me, of course he's happy doing what he's doing because his next move is Reading or something like that. So he's going to be happy coming off the bench for 3 minutes, 7 games a season, because this is Arsenal Football Club. So it is what it is.
Yes.
He's 26 as well. He should be wanting to start games and wanting to move to get some, but he's happy.
But is that such a bad thing? Like, what I mean is, I want players to have the El Neni mentality, but at the same time, sometimes you need players.
It's not the worst thing. It's not the worst. I'm not saying it's the worst. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have someone that wants to come on that pitch, knowing that this is their chance to prove themselves for the next game and the next game, not knowing that they're coming on for 3 minutes and they're back to the bench next one and happy days.
I've had my sound Rob Holding on his level of ability, but I think he is limited in a sense. When you saw as well, the knee thing still bothers him. So I don't think him being at Arsenal Football Club, I understand why he's happy being there, because I don't see his level. Like, he jokes about Reading. I think that's a bit harsh. I know. I think that's a bit harsh. But his incapabilities of his knee, that's going to pop up. He's not going to go to a higher level because that is going to. Yeah, it's a serious one. And in training, he had to come away because it was too much. And he's never going to get a run of games in the first team and be the main centre back here at Arsenal. And I think this will be his highest level. So I kind of get him having that mentality.
Maybe Blackburn then.
Robbie, you care about the holding stuff. It was just a little.
I think every team's got most teams have got a Rob Holding. Most teams have got a player that kind of knows his place. Basically, he knows he's not a starter, and is there to do everything for the team. And even Mohamed El Neni, when he said, "I'm angry," I wasn't convinced.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I'm angry when I'm.
But at least he said it. Like, at least
he said it. But I'm not convinced he's angry. I think he's another player that knows his position within the squad, knows that he's in that squad to help out in times of need, kind of thing, knows that he's not going to start most games, knows both of them know that they're not the top of the you do need a couple of players like that in your team, because if your whole other 11 or your whole other players in the squad are truly angry that they don't play, and you might have a bit of friction. So, but you do also say to yourself, I hear what Turkish is saying. Do they have that killer with him then?
You see the difference between Eddie and El Neni in the sense of who's angry and not playing. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, Eddie looks to me like someone who's angry.
Yeah, and he says,
you've only got to look at the evidence, right? He wanted to leave.
Yeah.
And he'd even done interviews that we even criticised him for in the past, where he said, I want to play, man. I want to play. If I don't get to play, but So I think in his case, he's angry.
Yeah, and his response to Sambi shows that.
Yeah.
That was a friendly kind of jab, but it was also that it came with some venom behind it.
Yeah.
But
what did he say? You're not the only one who's not playing.
Yeah,
he
together.
He was very much, stop moaning about it. Just, get your head down.
You can see the
which is what
a bridge for him. I mean,
there's being a squad player, and you're there and you train well, and but but there's other players that they're like, yeah, bro, I'm training because I
want to be.
Mikel, come on, man, haven't you seen what I've done? You could see Eddie going into his office and saying, come, when am I going to get a chance, man? Am I not going to get a chance? Have I not showed that week in? I don't think Holding and El Neni would be in his changing room.
As long as they don't lack commitment on the pitch, and I don't think El Neni and Holding do. I've never looked at them and gone, you're not trying. So
no way. Yeah. Especially El Neni, no way.
And just quickly put yourself in the player's shoes. Rob Holding, his competition for that number 1 spot, it's not looking like he's going to be that number 1 centre back. El Neni actually could have been. He could fight for that. If the incapabilities maybe not, but Eddie, striker, that vacancy was open, so it's damn right he should be wanting to fight, and that's why you can see how the frustration of him not playing.
Yeah, we're going to move on to the episode 8 stuff. Are there any comments, Seth? I know obviously we are live on YouTube. Smash the like button if you're enjoying the stream, and if you've enjoyed our reviews to all the other episodes, and let us know your thoughts.
Dialo with a super chat says, yes, Rob, there was no juice left in the orange. Well, I assume that's just at the end of the season.
Done.
Mark T with a super chat says, it's been a progressful season, not a successful season. I still think depth is the reason why we didn't get top 4. This season will be more crucial.
Don't forget January, people.
That's true. Mark T again says, sorry, more crucial. not cruel. Yeah, it's the last super chat. He's did spell, but I'll check. Correct that. Dialogue back from super chat says Vinay is not a football man. Focus on Mikel Arteta. What he said.
Which I think is what I'm kind of alluding at.
No,
I
but
get what
he's still a quite important and influential person.
He's
in the
around
club,
him every day.
Yeah.
Right, and to turn around and say it's successful, I'm sorry, it weren't. It weren't successful.
Yeah.
Right, because we could have got top 4. That would have been successful. And you got to gauge it. You can't just look on it and say, right, at the start of the season, based on my expectations at the start of the season, it was a success. Not when for so long, it wasn't like that, just that opportunity popped up within the last couple of games of the season. For literally from January, we had a sniff at, a big chance of getting into that top 4 and we blew it. So I look on it as, like is it Mark T said, it's a progressive, we progressed. You know what I mean? The previous seasons we were 8th, we were nowhere near the top 4. Nowhere near it. At least last season, we were fighting for the top 4. We had a chance of getting into the top 4. We blew it. So it's progress. Now this season, and that's why this season I'm going to be a bit more harsh in my judgments of Mikel Arteta, because now he's assembled. As I said, that's what I picked up from watching the last couple of episodes. It's almost like it's a realization to me anyway that team just weren't good enough to get top 4.
Yeah.
As well as the Eddie arc, we saw the Saka arc as well with the penalty and all that.
Is that on episode 7? That super chat?
With the kid?
No, this is from this super chat here.
Yeah, just before, if he's going to move on to 8, if that's on 7, get it in.
It's not. It's just Stretch just says he wants Robbie to read this, but it's just he's saying he's bigging up for the content throughout the day. Kudos to everyone. And he says big up tactical insight. He watches it.
That's very sweet. Thank you, Shref.
So, yeah.
And thank you for all the support. Shref's always in the comment section as well.
Shref, man. Shref.
Appreciate it a lot. No, the Eddie stuff and the Saka stuff was actually touched on episode 7, and we saw that Saka moment with the kid who sent him the letter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's some really nice moments that there were, and I like to see my club doing that. I like to see the players. And what are you two giggling at?
Because I said that.
Anytime he says, that's nice, so I like Rob. He looks at me because he knows in my head, what I'm thinking. He's trying to draw me out. Let me look, just keep the camera over
That
there.
was a nice moment, though.
Well, it was nice, yeah. We finished the season 5th. You think I care about cards and fucking messages, bruv? Go on, sorry.
On a human level, away from the football, I thought it was nice.
On a human level. You can have man calling me a robot out there saying that I expect the players to be robots. Listen, it's a nice message. The kid, cool.
Listen, the kid, bro, I know we finished 5th, but listen to that moment. It's a dream of his.
No one sent me a card when we finished 5th. I needed a good message back then, but I didn't get it. So here
Dear
I am.
Turkish, really sorry we finished 5th. We'll try harder next time.
Love
granite.
What you should have done, you should have sent the letter and your pocket money. Right? You send your wages in. As well, the kid sent all his pocket money as well to Saka. So you send your wages in as well. Right? And send that in to him. And all the money you've made and that, they might have invited you.
Yeah, but for what it was, obviously off the back of the racism, the penalty and whatnot, obviously it's a nice moment, but I'm here for football. I keep on saying this, I'm here for football. I don't care about the players' lives. I don't care what they're doing outside of that pitch.
You've touched on it there, though. It was the reason it all happened. It was the message behind. It was Saka showing how grateful he is to a fan. It was time spent with a young fan and a member of the Arsenal community. And I take a lot of heart in all those things. And I think that's really important. And then it kind of comes full circle. Then Saka steps up, take 2 penalties, and buries them both. Which now we're back onto the on-field stuff, but. I'm really glad that they showed a bit of that, especially because, not only because, it was really nice to see and it was great, but also because a lot of just from a watchability perspective, it was kind of match. So it was actually nice to just have a little bit of again, the what's the word you used the other day? It humanizes them, just a bit of that as well. So, no, I really enjoyed that. It was
James
really
went to Cecil for a word, I was thinking, what's going on here? Is he going to butcher it?
Come on, I got this. Quickly, this is what Yasin said. No, Yasin said Turkish never got ice cream when he was a kid.
You see my mum.
Right, episode 8. And one of the first things we see is Lacazette kicking a youngster as Cedric squaring up to him.
That was mad,
No, what Lacazette's on, to be honest.
That was all a bit weird, wasn't it? Obviously Lacazette's frustrated at that point. He's lost his place to Nketiah. And at that point, we're probably, you know, the Jesus rumours are out there. And he's probably just like, listen, my time's up, I'll give what I can. It was a weird thing to see, though, wasn't it?
It happens all the time, man, in training, man. All the time.
Yeah,
so you've got, like,
Does it?
All the time.
all
Kicking
the
a
time-
youngster?
Bro,
all the time you speak to a
bro,
professional,
bro.
and they say, like, all the time, Lee's, you know what I mean, there's always, you know, someone gets kicked, there's people squaring up,
Yeah.
that all the time.
We had the
Even when I
grass.
used to play sport, all the time
Yeah.
it used to happen.
We had the
But that
grass.
doesn't make it right when you're doing it to youngsters, though.
No, it doesn't make it right. Not
No, but he
but
gripped,
one of the
he
senior
gripped
players.
up Cedric.
Yeah, well, because Cedric called him out.
Yeah.
I rate Cedric for that, you know.
So do I. But yeah, we used to have when we play. We used to say, all right, after training, let's go to the grass. That was it. They used to have people used to have scraps there because you couldn't do it inside the club because it looked bad on you and contracts wise and whatnot. But yeah, it happens. You're with them you're with them so much. You see them
Yeah.
more than your family. They become family. There's always fights and because kicking the young players is definitely not acceptable. I actually questioned Lacazette because he was the captain at the time as well. Like some of the things.
Because he was done.
Yeah, like, his
By that
attitude.
point,
Those little
he was
things.
done.
I was looking at him thinking, bruv, you're not showing no.
We didn't see a
no
lot of
leadership
him from
qualities,
a captaincy perspective towards the end, did we? And listen, again, we only see certain bits, yada, yada, yada. But the point is, where we saw a bit of Xhaka getting irate, we saw some of the players' disappointment. I saw a very muted Lacazette, personally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he went down in
you
mine.
kind of heard more from him earlier on in
Yeah.
the series.
Things are going well.
But I guess he wasn't playing, remember? That's the other thing. I mean, that's the thing when you got a captain. Remember, he weren't playing. He literally didn't play any of those games, did he?
No.
He didn't play Tottenham. He didn't play
Came on a
Newcastle.
bit,
He
but that was
didn't
it.
start none of those games.
That was his frustration. You could tell it just
Yeah.
reached boiling
Yeah.
point for him.
Yeah.
He knew it was done at Arsenal. The fans had enough. The manager had enough. Eddie's in now. You know, he was vexed.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be doing that to the youngsters. He violated Cedric, but it is what it is. He's gone now.
Yeah,
so.
man, grab this. Man.
It is what it is, man. I had no problem with that. These things happens all the time, man.
We got a glimpse into how the Louis Dunford stuff came around with the song, something Arteta really wanted to push. I mean, I've got to, like, I'll be very honest. So I was at the game at Leicester. I like the song. I like that we've got something that kind of gets the fans going and generates a roar before kickoff. The way it was just edited up in the video and him kind of showing it, I don't know, I found it a little funny. I don't know why, just because there was nothing, it was out of nowhere, wasn't it?
He asked the players' permission. He was
He's
like,
like, suddenly I
"Figure of
want
things."
this song. And it's nothing to do with the song, I
I
like
think,
the song.
listen, I think it's them trying to add nice moments to a really terrible ending.
Do you know, I didn't think of it that way. I think that's it.
That's all
I think
it
that's
was.
it, yeah.
The little kid, the song, you know what I mean? But
they
me,
haven't
all I
played
can remember was Tottenham away, Newcastle away. And standing there at Newcastle just going like, hey, are these men serious? No,
I went to a lot of those bad games.
if we win this game, we could get top four. No. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So they tried to add a few nice moments to the end.
Yeah.
It's a documentary. That's what you try and do. You try and build a story. Try and
Bridge the gap between the fans
yeah.
and the
It's
players
like
as
we
well.
don't want
They
it.
really focus on that as well.
We don't want it to end like it's just pure that. Let's try and add a few bits in. So
Let's get into the meat of it then. 45 minutes into the stream. But look, we've got a lot of stuff we've touched on.
Sorry,
go
just
on.
quickly, the Man United games, that was episode 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 7, end of 7.
Do you see the Ronaldo top? Do you see that little moment as well? Ramsdale was talking about like he got Ronaldo's tops and whatnot, and
I missed
all the
that.
players were so excited. Like,
I missed that.
I think it was more in a jokey way.
yeah,
though.
he's like, I got Ronaldo's top. Saka was like, oh man, I'll get in one next. But even that is, I don't know.
No, but Ronaldo's
Ronaldo's
a
a
legend.
I don't mind. They've
It
won
was
the
it was
game.
a bit in a joking way, and they won the game.
Ronaldo's a legend.
If we
though.
lose the
I just
game,
wanted to hear people's thoughts.
If I
Yeah.
can let them off, then you know it's
yeah.
not that.
I think as well.
Yeah.
I think as well, it's one of them ones. If you lose the game,
And he still
you don't want
gets
to be hearing none of that. But we won the game.
Sure.
So.
Right, Newcastle, but first Tottenham. They don't really touch at all. No, they don't. They do not touch on the postponement and why it is we're playing at that time. Again, like the Xhaka thing, a pretty crucial element that left us in that position, that left us in this situation where we're playing a Thursday night against a stronger Spurs team, albeit we were stronger because of the players we had available. But okay, that's not touched on. Holding picks up his red card. He says that he basically says he shouldn't have been left one-on-one with Son, and I'm like, that's interesting. You went looking for those. You went to right wing to look for
Big
that battle.
26-year-old man coming to say you shouldn't have left me one-on-one with him. How experienced are you, but like come into the side and do your job. These men, too many of these men, because Xhaka did it with the red card as well when he turned to Saka a few episodes ago and said, if I didn't get the red card, he would have scored. Nah, these men, accountability.
No, but it shows that teams are targeting the weak points in our team. That is what I took from it. I'm like, what do you mean you shouldn't be left in one-on-one? That means they're looking to target you.
That's football 101 though,
that's what they do. Yeah, but
you attack the weaknesses.
Exactly that. But that's why I'm happy this season. Hopefully that can be eradicated, because I feel like, well, there might be one maybe weak link in the Arsenal side currently, but him saying that shocked me. I was like, bro, like that's the highlight of you. That's you. So yeah.
Let me.
My man shouldered him for one of the yellow cards. What's that got to do with anyone else being
That's
there?
what I thought. Yeah. That's what I thought. I was like, being left one-on-one had nothing to do with you getting sent off. You know, and that penalty, I tell you, when I saw that, man, it's even worse. That's dodgy. That first penalty that they got.
Oh, it was outrageous.
But yeah, I think he's just making excuses there. It's just he'd been sent off. It was his own fault.
Yeah,
nothing to do. Like you said, the red card came from him. A totally unnecessary elbow or on Son, not even near the goal, really.
From minute one, he was
just ridiculous. Remember, he was on fire.
He was moving crazy from the beginning.
Let me ask you about Arteta's involvement in that Spurs game, because his pre-match and everything in the build-up was, we had this opportunity to do something special, blah, blah, these are the nights we look for. And I remember very clearly at the time, I think this whole panel, to be fair, saying, we don't need to win, we like to win, be sensible. And he talks about, I think I've got it here, that I want to go and play the game we wanted to play it. Like he didn't want to compromise on anything, and he wanted to go and win there, which I respect the ambition in a lot of ways. I love the expectation. But did it reinforce it to anyone here that his approach to that game was wrong, maybe? That maybe he got caught up in it a bit too much?
I don't know, man. He gave them clear instructions, right, to which, again, when you saw the performance there, they just did not follow. Same at Newcastle. When I listened to what he said at the start of the game, it's quite clear instructions, getting off to fast starts, about being, what to expect, what type of game it's going to be, and they just, to me, they just didn't follow what he said. They were crap in both games, and it was down to the players.
He kept calm after it. Reiterated there was a second chance.
That's
because
he's
saying
let me
to
down though. That annoyed me.
No, but I think that was the right thing to do, because because all right, that game's is gone. Like he said, it's gone, but you got a second chance, right? I'll talk about this. We'll analyse this next week, but there's no put. And remember, the next game is coming up not too far away.
4 days.
So sort sort yourself out. Got a second chance to sort this out. And then the second one was worse.
That's why, I think that's probably why he probably was the right thing to do. That's probably why I'm so annoyed, because he let him off and then it ended up with us.
No, I get you. I don't disagree. I don't agree with it. Robbie's right, you're right. At the end of the day, there are two approaches you can take. You can calm it down and you can say there's another chance, or you can flip at them and say you've got one last chance now. Either or, at the end of the day, the approach he took didn't work. So maybe the other approach might have, but it might have not worked as well. So it is what it is.
Then he flips at Newcastle.
Chance gone.
He was right. He was completely right to flip.
When he said, leave the words in your mouth and zip it.
Shut up and eat it. He said, shut up and eat it.
I quite like that.
I thought that.
Shut up and eat it.
Go right to them.
Eat it. It's your fault. All of you. You had an opportunity to achieve something big, and you absolutely blew it. You were completely impotent in that performance. It was rubbish. Absolutely. So they don't want to hear nothing. Don't want to hear no excuses. Don't want to hear you lot. Now you're going to have to sit with this all summer, and you're going to have to face the consequence. Although when he walks through the door, he goes, but, I'm going to go and I'm going to have to, and I'll do that on your behalf. But basically what he's saying to him, you don't deserve it.
Do you think he was guilt-tripping him a little bit? And I actually think in a good way, in that he was saying, it felt to me, he wasn't just saying, I'll go defend you guys. It's like, but I'll defend you. I'll take it. Like, it felt like that to me a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's how he was saying.
You guys have let me down, but you know what? I'll take it.
you let you down, you let the fans down, you let down everybody.
Almost saying, you've done this to me, guys, thank you. I got that sense a little bit, which I quite like, because...
No, nothing to be nice about with those players. And I reckon on that night, he's probably thinking to himself, in his head, he's thinking, you're going, you're out, get rid of you, in his mind.
You're probably right.
No, that's the vibe, because it's like,
Yeah. Again, there's two methods. You either out your players or you protect your players. both methods can work.
Yeah.
We saw Conte's method of outing the players in January, get them top 4 by the end of the season, coupled up with our lack of movement, let's say. But when you got a young team, I guess protecting them is the right way, especially in your first, let's say your first full season of having your players, like people like to say. Now this season coming, if the same thing happens in April, May, then I expect a different type of approach. Maybe it's time to start out in some of these, man, because it's obviously not working coming from you. Maybe it'll work coming from the media. Maybe it won't. But, you know, both methods can work. It just depends on your situation and personnel.
Yeah. Xhaka looked clearly wound up at Newcastle. You touched on him looking like one of the captains in there. Yeah, I mean, there is something strange about there being this silent dressing room and him being the voice that's coming through. I just mean the fact that it's a lone voice, and I don't know whether I want everyone in that moment quiet and reflecting, or if I want them all scrapping about it. I don't really know, but you even saw it in Xhaka's post-match.
I want more people like being like Xhaka, where they're being more vocal. Not all of them. They're young players. And young players ain't gonna be like really vocal like that. You know what I mean? That's where sometimes you need your senior players, right? Like, you know, that's what some of these other clubs have got. Like, you look at Liverpool, I could just imagine, like, you know, in their dressing room, you've got a Van Dijk who could be ripping a man. You could have Milner ripping a man, Henderson. They've got 4 or 5 of those type of characters who'd be like, yeah, we'll go over to certain players and what are you doing? Even before Klopp's got to them. Those players will be on these players' case. I looked in our dressing room and it just looked to me like Xhaka was the only sort of force like that. And then I looked around, as I said, when I look at that picture there, it's all youngsters. It's all young, inexperienced players that are still on their journey. You know what I mean? Martinelli's got to go up, get up and rip someone because he's not even played a season for Arsenal. Something, if he gets up and starts ripping and say, I don't know, Cedric might tell me, sit down, man, who are you talking to? You just started playing the other day. Who are you? You know what I mean? So,
still,
you know.
right message, wrong. Turk said it, wrong player. For me, I think there's a space for Xhaka, and is Arteta's man through and through. Look at last night's under-21s game. Xhaka's there, like he's fully involved, and you can tell that, you know, Arteta really trusts him, likes him there. But we need an improvement in that position, and you're right, there needs to be more leaders.
Improvement in that position, but I give the guys due. He's a leader.
Yeah.
You know, I've been hearing it for a long time. People have told me at Arsenal, right? Don't get me wrong, I get annoyed with him because sometimes on the pitch, like especially with the red card thing, I'm like, if you're a leader, you've got to cut that out of your game. But throughout the documentary, in the change rooms, and beyond, even in certain things, you can see like he's an experienced guy. Like he's a leader.
Yeah,
he looks to me like a leader there, right? Whereas other man, they are very quiet. And, you know, and it's a very quiet dressing room.
I agree with that, Rob.
Because we had the youngest team in the Premier League, and towards the end of that season, it showed. You know, and then basically you see once the heat came, Newcastle away, really hostile atmosphere, really big game, no room for error.
I think,
you know, same with Tottenham, we failed.
There's a space for him definitely in the change room for that leadership role. Remember when David Luiz left and we were saying, listen, I would have given him 1 year extension because he seemed like the player that will be in the change room and telling the players and being that sort of leader voice. So I agree, Xhaka probably is that, and we do need that. Or we need to bring someone in that has that. I think Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, bring that side, but not. I don't think they'll still be as vocal as what Xhaka is. But again, right,
maybe not as vocal, but you know, sometimes you've got some senior guys there that know the thing, you know what I mean? Sometimes they ain't got to say a lot.
They can just look and say,
There's a few things I've got to say to you, like, hey.
But that's what I mean about Xhaka. Xhaka, he likes to say a lot. But you've cost us over the years as well. You've led us to nonsense over the years as well.
He was last season one of our better players. Well, I analysed the season. He was one, apart from the red cards, he was quite a consistent player throughout the season. There was a lot of other players. There were better players than him, obviously, Saka's and that. But I think that, you know, I just looked in that dressing room. Even Saka was burnt out. Smith Rowe was burnt out. But that's the youth.
Yeah. Let's go through some, you know, final comments and super chats before we reflect on this documentary as a whole.
Okay, Dialo over super chat says, Turkish bro, come on, Teddy and Saka was deep stuff. He's talking about the kid. That was a good
It was, in all seriousness.
It was nice. It was a nice moment.
Yeah, it was. But obviously the joke started from him saying it's course, nice, looking at me, smiling like, bro, I ain't here. I'm here for the football.
Alright, so Turkish, I love fun, bro. Sadiq says, Laka, with a super chat, Laka Cedric moment, a second before Xhaka talking about pressure. Then you see Laka kick a youth player at training, justifying Laka exit in a way. I don't know if that justifies his exit. I mean, he was on, I think he was on the way
Lack
out.
of goals justifies his exit.
Yeah, he was on the way out.
Don't need
anyway.
anything else.
They think that all the time, man.
Yeah, even him saying he wants to go back to the club and wants Champions League football. He checked out way before that moment, I believe. Anyway, Elijah's with super chat says, at James, your face says you disagree with Robbie's assessment on the penalty call. Do you think it was a clear pen? I remember you saying, because you said, I said it was soft, and you were like, yeah, but it's still a pen. I think it was soft, man.
When I've seen so many penalties since then that have been waved on, that was...
I thought you were going to do an Arteta impression.
No, Romero...
In a fucking
Look at Romero's...
derby, man. You know what I mean? I still get angry when I think about it.
That was much worse than what
in a
Cedric
derby
done.
game. That's a derby game.
We know officials in this country.
That ruined it, man.
You know what I mean? Ruined the game.
That ruined it. That ruined it.
Ruined the game, man.
It was a pen for me.
Shref with the super chat says, Laka was never hungry. He was replaced as a striker by Oba. Never felt threatened. Oba left and he still never stepped up as a captain. Laka was Oba's sidekick. Mark T with super chat says, just want to get your opinion on over-celebrating last season. Do you all believe we over-celebrate now that we did not make top four?
Over-celebrate what?
We got painted with that paintbrush that Arsenal over-celebrated everything. Because we didn't get top four, what's your thoughts on that?
As I said, man, celebrate. I don't think they over-celebrated. I mean, even look in there was one game, the West Ham game, which was a big win for them, and even the Chelsea game. And they didn't overdo it. They sort of come in there like, yes, and all like that. That's what I'd expect. They weren't like, I saw Tottenham the other day with Basuma going to the ground, hey, holding up the trophy. Like, hey. I mean, so I don't think they did. I think
for a young team as well.
I think it was, and also, it's a young team, and I think you've got to always do things in context. There's some turning point games. Like when the game they got accused of really celebrating was that game at Villa. Tough game, lots of people. I remember that game. Everyone thought we were going to lose that game. Yep. They went there, they played really well. Saturday game, 12:30 kick-off. Sun was shining, loads of fans there. They went over and said, with the fans, I don't see nothing wrong with that. We as fans, how many away games have we gone to and said, they just went straight down the tunnel, they didn't come over and that. So, no, I'm more than happy to see them do that, and it was more, if you notice, it was more the away games they're going to celebrate with their fans.
Yeah.
You see them teams in Germany and all that, they do it all the time. I remember when Klopp first came to this country, and he was getting criticised because he was going over with all the players and they were going like that, like what they do in Germany. And he was baffled by, like, what? We just won a game, man.
It's interesting. I like to see the personality through this.
Yeah, and then temper it as well with the disappointment with them when we lost.
Yeah, exactly that. And you saw Bruno Fernandes when he missed the penalty. You saw Ramsdale running that jump in. That's part of his personality. I like that.
Look, we asked for players to care, and I think what this documentary showed was that, the mainstream media and all of us on the broadcast saw the celebrations and all of everything like that, but we also saw the disappointment when we conceded to Brentford and still won. Or when Ramsdale concedes the goal against Villa and doesn't get his clean sheet. So as long as it's balanced and it's both ways, you're really enjoying your wins, but you're really disappointed when it goes wrong. Yeah. I'm cool with that. If it's they're brushing off the defeats and they're just there to party and have a good time, then I'm like, come on, guys, where's the level here? But anything I don't know.
Last week.
Oh no, sorry, I did
super chat.
Sorry, you were looking. I don't know if you. Yeah.
No, I've spoken enough on this subject.
Just going to quickly rattle through the last super chats. Darla says after Spurs, he wanted to lift up their confidence. I think it's obviously after the chat he did at the end. Elijah. Back with a super chat says, big up Don Robbie for going against the Xhaka narrative. How about we just give the man his flowers without, I think it means caveats or critiques. I don't know what he's trying to spell there. And then Budu with the last super chat
How
says,
about we start giving flowers when we make top four? How about that? We're going to give man flowers for 5th and 8th and come on, man. No, I don't know what's going on in this world.
Budu with a super chat, last one says, was merciful at Spurs because of red card and pens. And that is it for the super chats. And big up everyone in the chats.
Yeah, and thank you everyone who's been joining these lives to give your thoughts and hear our thoughts on All or Nothing. It's all done, so let's get some takeaways and a final rating for the whole series. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. 5.
5 overall?
Yeah, average.
Okay, any main takeaways?
The middle three was the most interesting for me. But the last two, we know how the season ended. It didn't really give me anything. The first three, similarly. Yeah, overall, average, decent watch. I won't go through it again. 5 out of 10.
Yes?
I'm gonna go 7. These last two dropped it, but I did enjoy it. I do enjoy these all or nothings. I do. At other clubs, and when it's Arsenal, our club, it was an insight that I did want to see. I did like to see. I know you say you don't get to see all the facts, everything, but I saw enough, and it's helped me buy into what I'm seeing going forward from this Arsenal club. Yes, last season was a failure, 100%, but with what we're seeing right now at Arsenal Football Club, early on, it's nice having this, and it's leading on to now what's going on to this season. Hopefully they will see success going forward, but it was nice to get some insights, so yeah. 7.
Any takeaways, anything else you wanted to
Probably
mention?
give it a 7 as well. I'd say that the big takeaway is for the club, it was good. I think a lot of people are dreading this documentary when it was first, being muted. First of all, people said, what are Arsenal playing at? Well, what they were playing at was picking up £15 million for doing it, right? Which was what we probably would have got similar amounts for being out of the Europa League. So that was a smart move. And then actually, the documentary itself has kind of, apart from obviously the ending, us being able to see, us seeing how it all ended and knowing how it all ended. But I think the positives of it is that it's made a lot of fans very closer to the players, because it's seen a different side of the players, and we've been able to see that they care. We've been able to get a little glimpse into behind the scenes, and I think Mikel Arteta is the guy who comes out as the real sort of star, the real person that I think the fans will be even more behind now that the documentary's out. But for me, I knew, as a person who's I've been involved in in TV work, I know how the system kind of works. So I wasn't really expecting to see like things in it that I'll be like, wow, I never knew that happened, or I knew it'd be kind of painted, and it was painted. But Mikel Arteta comes out of it shining, I think, even though we ended up not being successful. And I think the fans in general really appreciate the documentary. So yeah, it was all right. I'm not sure. I'm a bit like Turkey. I don't know if I could go back and watch it again. I know I'm not really a go back and watch again person, but it was okay. It was good. And that could have been a hell of a lot worse considering how things turned out.
Yeah. I was leaning on 6, but I'll give it a 7, just because those middle 3 episodes were really good. Like, I came out of them, I really enjoyed them, I felt I learnt a lot, and I felt more connected to the team because of it. So for those 3 episodes alone, that bumps it up to probably a 7. I did have 3 takeaways from it, or just 3 more sort of things I'd noticed. A, that I understand why Arteta is always mixing up his messages in team talks with the light bulbs and everything, because I think we saw at the end of the season it can go a little bit stale. That was one thing I wanted to mention. Why quality is so important. We always talk about hunger and desire and all these things, and they're absolutely important, but you think Eddie Howe's not saying the exact same thing in the dressing room opposite.
Yeah,
and look at the hunger and desire of those Newcastle
Do you know the
players
same thing, right? That's what struck me. I was like, it doesn't matter how great Mikel Arteta's team talk is. When we was watching that Tottenham one, right, I'm like, they will equally be saying the same thing. They'll be saying that, listen, when we played them at the Emirates, they beat us 3-1. Yeah. We've got our fans out there. We can't let them down. But so team talks, I know there's a big thing made of these sort of things, right? Of, did he get into him, right? But the thing is, right, both teams have a team talk.
Yeah.
But when they get out to the pitch, it's about tactics. It's about quality. Right, and that's what really came home to me in those last couple of games. Right, when I saw it, I'm like, the key players that were missing in Partey and Tierney and that, and the lack of quality in comparison to Tottenham, in comparison to Newcastle as well. Even Newcastle, they had
in some key positions.
They had all their, there was no real injuries. They had their strong team. We had a really fractured team, and I'm just like, it doesn't matter how much team talks you give, man, if you ain't got that quality on the pitch.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm looking at the transfer business and now thinking, all right, well, that's a good response to last season, because they've realised that, we talk to you blue in the face. You ain't got that quality on the pitch.
Yeah, that was a big takeaway for me, the quality thing. And the last thing is that I was critical about this coming out while the season was on, and I would take that back. I'm actually glad that the season has started when this is out. Reason being is, watching it, I just thought, thank God we've won our first 2 games and bring on Bournemouth. Because I think if this had just happened, say, a month earlier or in the weeks leading up to the season, I actually think it might have killed a little bit of momentum just because of the way it ended, and it was opening wounds, wasn't it? And just reminding ourselves of the end to last season. And I think my mindset almost coming out of it, last night when I watched it was, oh, just please win. Whereas actually going into the Palace game, it was pre-season was great. I'm really excited to see this team again. And they're small things, but I just think actually I'm glad it's come out while we've already addressed some of the things that we've seen go wrong at the end of that documentary. So that was one thing. Anything else to add, guys? Or, no?
No, there's no happy ending.
Hopefully we get one this season.
Was it all, or was it? I'm not even going to. We'll leave it there, guys. All or Nothing, it's out. Go watch it if you haven't yet. And yeah, thanks for your comments throughout. Thanks for joining these live streams. If you did enjoy the video, do hit the like button. What are we reviewing next week? She-Hulk or?
No, that's out.
No, I know that's
She-Hulk.
out today,
Yeah, big up. I need to watch.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Well, She-Hulk is like a Hulk, but it's
Hulk.
a female female
Yeah,
Hulk.
she's a lawyer, I believe. Yeah.
I didn't even know about that one.
Well, we'll be back next week to review She-Hulk.
Or ice cream and kids, and how to take them out of days.
Right, we're going to round up there. Guys, big
Man said
thanks.
ice cream and kids.
We'll catch you. There will be a live later today, 5 PM UK time. Who you joining? Is it
Guna Lee will be here
There you
in the
go,
building.
Cecil. And Guna, we've had some great guests. Guna Lee, we've had Jay
Sharoy.
Boswell last week, Sharoy as well. So, yeah, lots more to talk about. As always, 2 weeks ago to the end of the transfer window. We'll be covering it all. Catch you next time.